Shalom. I love to see more people bringing the shofar and blowing the shofar because our people, thank you, baby. I'm so forgetful. Our people are a people of trumpets and shofars. Check the time here. You guys know I'm more of a man of books than I am of PowerPoint or anything like that. And that's how I'm going to go about it today, too. First, I'd like to say I related to a lot of what everybody said today. But there's one thing that I would like to pray about, because I heard with Luis and Savannah that children don't come with a manual. And the only thing that ran through my mind, though, is if you're willing, every one of you is a child of the Most High. And He has given us a manual. The problem is, most of them sit on our shelves and on our desk and all that, collecting dust. And our fathers have inherited lies and vanity, and that's what's been passed down to us. But there's an awakening happening. And, I come up here and I only blow one silver trumpet, and it says when you do that, that's to call the elders. And if you blow two, that's for the whole congregation. But in type and shadow, you guys who observe the Sabbath and the Torah and all that, you're the elders, because the rest of the world's still asleep. So anyway, the Torah portion this week is pronounced something like Shemini. And it means 8, or the 8th. And at the start of the Torah portion, in Leviticus 9, I'm only going to read what it says there at the beginning. And it was on day Shemini, on the 8th. So what we want to do, I brought the Strong's Concordance. We want to, at the back of it, there's a dictionary. And we want to take a look at that real quick, just to see what we're talking about here. And here we go. 8066 in the Strong's Hebrew. Shemini, 8. Okay. Comes from 8083. So we go over there. Shimone, or Shimone. Okay, or Shimona. Apparently from, and it'll give another number here, through the idea of plumpness or fullness. A cardinal number, 8, as if a surplus above the perfect 7. Now we're always, especially me, I have come to love 777. But 8 is over and above 7. So we'll go up to the other number it says, 8082. And that is Shaman. And it comes from 8080. But that means to be greasy. That is figuratively gross in a good way, and rich, fat, lusty, plenteous. So we go up to the next one, and it's shaman. And that's a primitive root, to shine. That is by analysis to cause to make oily or gross, make wax fat. And the reason I brought that up, because if you'll notice in the Torah portion today, and we'll get into it probably more in the Torah study, that oil that you mix with all the leavened bread and everything, that's what that word is, shemen. So the word 8 actually comes from that oil, which is olive oil, that is used to make things shine. And it's a picture of things to come. those kind of studies for me are always fun. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but you got to go to this word, to this word, to this word, to this word, and make all these connections, but I love it myself, and I do a lot of that at home. So after 7 days of consecration, we come to day 8, Shemini. Everything is done as commanded. So let's pick it up in Leviticus 9, 22 and 24. I read this last week also when we were talking about the altar. They did everything as commanded. And then it says, and lifted up, I'm in the greens, and lifted up Aaron his hands toward the people, and he blessed them, and came down from offering the sin offering, and the burnt offering, and the peace offerings, and went Moshe and Aaron into the tent of meeting, and they came out and blessed the people, and appeared the glory of Yah to all the people. And fire came out from before Yah and consumed on the altar the burnt offering and the fat, and saw all the people and cried aloud. And we pointed out last time that crying aloud there was for joy this time. And they fell on their faces. So we talked about last time that this is Yah's acceptance of the olah, or the whole burnt, or the ascending offering, or the different names of it. This fire came out and consumed an acceptance, as we spoke before about the altar that we had up on the screen. Now this is Aaron and Moshe. But Aaron has sons, and some will make it, so to speak, and some will not. So continuing in Leviticus 10 now through 11, we'll continue on with some of the Torah portion and look at some things. Leviticus 10, verses 1 through 11. And took the sons of Aaron, Nadab. Now we spoke about that before, those who come to build the tabernacle with the Nadab, a willing heart. Well, he's got the name, and he is willing, but we'll see there's a problem. Nadab and Abihu, each his censer, and put in them fire, and they put on it incense, and brought before Yah strange fire, which not he had commanded them. And went out fire from before Yah and consumed. There's another consumption there. Consumed them, and they died before Yah. And said Moshe to Aaron, Aharon, it is that which has spoken Yah, saying, by those approaching me, I will be treated holy. And before all the people, I will be honored. And was silent Aaron. And called Moshe to Mishael and to Elisaphan, sons of Uziel, uncle Aaron's, and said to them, come near, carry your brothers from the front of the sanctuary to the outside of the camp. And they came near and carried them in their coats to the outside of the camp, as had commanded Moshe, and said Moshe to Aharon and to Eleazar and to Ithamar, his sons, your heads not you shall uncover, and your garments not you shall tear, that not you may die. And on all the congregation he be angry. As to your brothers, the whole house of Israel, they shall mourn the burning which has burned Yah. And of the door of the tent of meeting, not you shall go out, lest you die. For oil, that's that Shimon there, where the eighth comes from. For the oil of the anointing, Mashach, of Yah is upon you. And they did according to word Moshe's. And spoke Yah to Aharon, saying, wine and strong drink, not you shall drink, you nor your sons with you, as you go in to the tent of meeting. And you shall not die, a statute never ending for your generations, and for distinction between the holy and the profane, and between the unclean and the clean. And we know Paul talks in the New Testament still of being clean instead of unclean, and remaining holy instead of profane. And to teach the sons of Israel all the statutes which have spoken Yah to them by the hand of Moshe. So with that, we see they brought strange fire. So let's take a look again in the Hebrew dictionary for that word specifically, strange. And it's the Strong's Hebrew word 2114, zur. It's a primitive root to turn aside, especially for lodging. You're going to stay in that place. And this is one place you don't want to turn aside and stay in. But it's also to be foreign, strange, profane, specifically to commit adultery. Come from another man. So if you're not from the man Mashiach, who's the other man? Would it not be Hasatan, the Antichrist? Fanner, go away, strange, stranger, strange thing. And the last thing it has there is strange woman. And we'll be talking about these things. Let us remember our high priest also has many sons and daughters like Aaron had sons that Yah has given to him. Some will make it and some won't. To the day 8. The new heavens and the new earth. Because that's what day 8 is a picture of. In today's example, do as commanded to be accepted. Do that which is not commanded to be rejected. Strange ways, strange women, and drunkenness. But we always say first the natural and then spiritually speaking. So with that, let's go to Deuteronomy 29:10. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 29:10 and read through 20. And it reads, you are standing today, all of you, before Yah, your Elohim. This is when they were standing, getting ready to cross over into the promise. Kind of like where we're standing now, expecting to cross over. We can feel that we're getting real close. What was written before is an example of what will be. So here we are standing before our God, our rulers, our tribes, our elders, and our officers, every man of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and your alien, who is in the middle of your camps, from the one cutting your wood to the one drawing your water, so that you may enter into the covenant of Yah your Elohim, and into his oath, which Yah your Elohim is cutting with you today. Today, it's written elsewhere, if you will hear his voice. So that he may establish you today to himself for a people, and himself he may be your God, as he has spoken to you, and as he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And not with you alone I am cutting covenant this, and oath this, but with him who is here with us, standing today before Yah our Elohim, and also with him who is not here with us today. That would be speaking as far down the road as to us. We didn't have to be there. All we got to believe is we're part of this covenant that's being cut. For you know how we lived in the land of Egypt. Weren't we all in a type of Egypt, living in that misery? In fact, that's one of the things I related to today when some people said they had a good week and all that. I haven't. This beast system's becoming more taxing, and I mean literally, money-wise. It's becoming more filled with rigor and everything. They're still trying to work me personally like when I was 25 years old. And I don't see anything changing, but it getting worse and worse. So I really look forward more now to the Sabbath than I ever have. And how we came through the nations which you passed through, and you have seen their detestable things, even their idols of wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them, lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turns away today from Yah, our Elohim, to go and serve the gods of nations, those. Lest there should be among you a root that bears gall and wormwood. Now, if we don't think this pertains to us, fast forward all the way to Revelation. Does it not talk about wormwood and bitter waters? And it happens when he hears the words of curse this, that he, or we, should bless ourselves in our hearts, saying, peace shall I have. Though in the stubbornness of my heart I walk, to snatch away the drunken with the thirsty. Not will be willing Yah to forgive him, for then shall smoke the anger of Yah and his zeal against man that, and shall lie upon him all the curses that are written in book this, and shall blot out Yah his name from under the heavens. Not a good message. Didn't work out too good for Nadab and Abihu. And a lot of times we want to come in here and hear those feel-good messages. But our Torah portion shows something different today than a feel-good message. Now let's go to Hosea. And I'm going to go to the King James for that. Hosea 8. Strange ways, strange women, and drunkenness. That's why you always see me trying to stick to the Scriptures, lest I go astray into something else. Try to make up things my own way. It's better to just read the book. Hear this, Hosea 8. Hear this. Thus saith Adonai Elohim, he showed unto me, and behold, a basket of summer fruit. Let me see if I got the right one. No, I don't. Yeah, that was in a different prophet. Hosea chapter 8. It's a short one. We've read it before. Set the trumpet to thy mouth, he says, an eagle against the house of Yah, because they have transgressed my covenant and trespassed against my Torah. Israel shall cry unto me, my Elohim, we know thee. We know in other places it says that. And he says, I don't know you. Israel hath cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. Thy calf, O Samaria, hath cast thee off. Mine anger is kindled against them. How long will it be ere they attain to innocency? I haven't done anything wrong. For from Israel was it also the workman made it. Therefore it is not God, but the calf of Samaria, shall be broken in pieces. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. It hath no stock, the bud shall yield no meal. If so be it yield, the strangers will swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the nations as a vessel wherein is no pleasure, scattered among the nations. This came to pass. For they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass alone by himself. Ephraim, the northern kingdom, hath hired lovers. Yea, though they have hired among the nations, now will I gather them, and they shall sorrow a little for the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim hath made many altars to sin, altars shall be given unto him for sinning. I have written to him the great things of my Torah, but they were counted as a strange thing. Yah's word has become a strange thing to 10 of the tribes of Israel. And you hear of it even today. You mention Torah to people that say they believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Torah, what is that? And you have to explain it to them, whether they believe it or not, but most of them will just tell you it's been done away with. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offerings, and eat it, but Yah accepteth them not. Now will he remember their iniquity, and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel hath forgotten his Maker, and buildeth temples, and even Judah hath multiplied fenced cities. But I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof. That's approaching Yah in a way that he has not commanded. Now, to strange women. Women usually symbolize what? Church, cities, congregations. This is another word for church. Assemblies, daughters of Zion. But there are good and bad women. And we always look to Solomon as the prime example. So we'll go to 1 Kings 11. Verses 1 through 12. The whole thing about the middle part of our Torah portion today is approaching Yah in strange ways. And Solomon, he started off good, but then he went astray, as we'll see here. 1 Kings 11, 1 through 12. It says, But Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh. He also had women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yah said unto the children of Israel, You shall not go into them, neither shall they come in to you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. But Solomon he clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives that were princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yah his Elohim, as was the heart of David his father. And I'll always say it, and I'll continue to say it. David wasn't a perfect man, but he didn't ever turn away to other gods like his son Solomon. He knew where to go to ask for repentance and forgiveness and mercy. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth. You might want to keep that in your mind for a little while here. Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of Yah, and went not fully after Yah, as did David his father. Then Solomon built an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And Yah was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned away from Yah, Elohim of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. You know, we always say we would never do that. We see all these examples. But even if Yah appeared to a man twice, if you don't stay focused and stay in the Word and continue looking to the God of Israel, he's likely to go astray. Verse 10, and had commanded him concerning this thing that he should not go after other gods. But he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Wherefore Yah said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servants. Notwithstanding, in the days I will do it, and notwithstanding in the days I will not do it for David. Let me get that right. Notwithstanding in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. And surely that did come to pass. Now what's a little bit puzzling to me is Solomon wrote these words, Proverbs 5. Now I'm assuming he wrote these words before he got old and his heart was turned. But these are the words of Solomon the king. Proverbs 5 says, my son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood. There we go with that wormwood again. Sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold of hell, lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life. Her ways are movable, that thou canst know them. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house, lest thou give thine honor unto others, other gods, and thy ears under the cruel, lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. And thou mourn at the last. Check this out, just like Nadab and Abihu. And thou mourn at the last when thy flesh and thy body are consumed. Little hellfire and brimstone, not my words. And say, how have I hated instruction, our instruction manual as we mentioned earlier, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly, right in the midst of the church. drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the desert, in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times. And be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of Yah, and he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. Wow. So we are warned. We need to be careful, especially in what we consider the last days, to study to show ourselves approved, because there's a burning coming. It's known to most of us as the lake of fire. That's the burning consumption that you don't want to be in. But there's also that burning consumption that's an acceptable sacrifice when you offer yourself wholly to the one true God. Rodney, you got that image I asked you for? Easter. This is Ishtar, which is pronounced Easter in the English. A multi-breasted fertility abomination. And this is not to bash anyone, because I used to tell people Happy Easter. In the Hebrew, you can say even Ashar Easter if you wanted to, which would mean blessed is that abomination. Most people, I'm sure, are innocent of the fact that they're going in what should be one of the highest Shabbats, the Passover, but instead they're going in and approaching Yah in the name of that thing. And many other things we do in the congregations because we're bringing strange fire, strange ways, strange women, congregations, and drunkenness, spiritually speaking, to Yah. And that's because we're straying away from the book. You can either leave that there or get that thing away. Now to some drunkenness. Isaiah. I'm going to go to Isaiah 29:1. Isaiah 29:1 through 13. And it reads, Woe to Ariel, the city where David dwelt. So we know what that's talking about. It's another name for Jerusalem. Add ye year to year. Let them kill sacrifices. So we can bring sacrifices, but let's continue on and see what it says. Yet I will distress Ariel, and there shall be heaviness and sorrow, and it shall be unto me as Ariel. And I will camp against thee round about, and I will lay siege against thee with a mount, and I will raise forts against thee, and thou shalt be brought down, and shalt speak out of the ground. And I read this last night, and this just one of those things where I like, whoa, just caught my attention, like I've never really seen that before. And that shall be brought down and shall speak out of the ground. and thy speech shall be low out of the dust, and thy voice shall be as one that hath a familiar spirit. And that kind of gave me the creeps. Out of the ground, and thy speech shall whisper out of the dust, down there with the dead. But the voice, he's talking to Jerusalem. Your voice shall be as a familiar spirit. Why? Moreover, the multitude of thy strangers shall be like small dust, and the multitude of the terrible ones shall be as chaff that passeth away. Yea, it shall be at an instant, suddenly. Thou shalt be visited of Yah Sabaoth with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, and with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. Sounds like the book of Revelation again. And the multitude of all the nations that fight against Ariel or Jerusalem. Sounds like the book of Revelation again. Even all that fight against her and her munition and that distress her shall be as a dream of a night vision. And it shall even be as when an hungry man dreameth, and behold, he eateth, but he awaketh, and his soul is empty. Or as when a thirsty man dreameth, and behold, he drinketh, but he awaketh, and behold, he is faint. And his soul hath appetite. So shall be the multitude of all the nations that fight against Mount Zion. Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken. And listen to this one carefully, because there's that in the natural, and then again, there's always that in the spiritual. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For Yah hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and the rulers, the seers, hath he covered. So they're drunk. It's a spiritual drunk. Yah's given it to them. That reads like it's given to all the people in the what? The churches, the congregations. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. They say that a lot about the book of Revelation. Can't understand that book. It's sealed, even though he's popping the seals open in the book. Which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. Wherefore Adonai saith, For as much as this people draw near to me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precepts of men. You ever go into these places or watch them on TV where they'll hardly ever even crack open the book? It's more like a motivational speech going on in there. Sounds good, most of it, but is it leading you the right way? The way is narrow, it says, right? And few there be that find it. So that's why I say we need to continue to study to show ourselves approved. And we're told also that we need to not be taught by any man, that it would be the Spirit that leads us. How about Jeremiah? Jeremiah 25, 3 through 7. And this says, the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. That was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the word of Yah hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened. And Yah hath sent unto you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but you have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. They said, turn ye again now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that Yah has given unto you, and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and to provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands. And I will do you no hurt. Yet you have not hearkened unto me, saith Yah, that you might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. So he tells us to listen, to listen, to listen. And then he goes on talking also about the same thing, about the nations, which I think is a lot of what's being picked up by John in Revelation. But let's skip down to Jeremiah, same chapter, 15 through 17. And he continues after he's talking about all the nations, and says, for thus saith Adonai Elohim, or Yah Elohim, the God of Israel, unto me, take the wine cup of this fury out of my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. And they shall drink, and be moved, and be mad, because of the sword that I will send among them. Then took I the cup at Yah's hand, and made all the nations to drink, unto whom Yah had sent me. And this is why I say I think this is where he's picking up a lot and going to Revelation, because he starts off with Jerusalem, which all nations will gather around, it says in Revelation. And he goes through a whole list of nations, but we're going to skip on down to Jeremiah 27, 28. After he talks about all of these nations, then he says, speaking of drunkenness, therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yah Sabaoth, the Elohim of Israel, drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall. You're going to drink so much, you're going to vomit it out everywhere, and you're going to fall right down in it, and you're going to wallow around in your own vomit. Harsh words, but like I say, we tend to want to skip over all those. Didn't work out well for Nadab and Abihu. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Adonai Sabaoth, Elohim of Israel, drink ye and be drunken and spew and fall and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Yah Sabaoth, ye shall certainly drink. There's going to come a time when that cup of drunkenness is going to be poured out. Let's go to the mountain real quick. In Luke. Let's go to the mountain, because there's a way to approach Yah, and I'd like to end on a good note. So let's go to the mountain and hear the voice, the command of the Father that tells us in Luke 9, 18 through 35. See, that's what it is, doing that which is commanded and that which is not commanded. It's a simple thing, it would seem. But we as humans, we always want to be rebellious and stubborn. When we're in Leviticus and we're told by, I believe it's the prophet Samuel, that obedience is better than sacrifice. And rebellion is just as the sin of witchcraft. And we don't want to be that way. But the way to approach Yah now is written in Luke 9:18 through 35. And it came to pass, as he was alone praying, his disciples were with him, and he asked them, saying, Whom do the people say that I am? They answered and said, Some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others say that one of the old prophets is risen again. So they believed in resurrection already, didn't they? He said unto them, But whom say ye that I am? Peter answered and said, The Christ, the Messiah of Elohim. And he straitly charged them and commanded them to tell no man this thing, saying, The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders, of the chief priests, scribes, and be slain, and be raised on the third day. And he goes on, and I'm going to skip to 28. And it came to pass about the 8th, it came to pass about in 8 days. It's kind of funny. The other ones say after 6 days. The other two Gospels. After 6 days, they come to this place, which would be after 6 days as well. 7th day, right? But this one says, and it came to pass about in 8 days after these sayings. So after 6 days, you enter into the 7th day, and you're waiting on the 8th day, which is new beginnings, new heavens, new earth. And he took Peter and John and James and went up into the mountain to pray, and as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. And behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory, and spake of his deeds, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Yahushua, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make unto thee 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moshe, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. Now this is why I really came here, because it's what is commanded that we need to do. And while he thus spake, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud saying, now the Son's there on earth, so who's speaking? Well, it tells us it's the Father. This is my beloved Son. Hear him. From Genesis to Revelation, garden to garden, is Yeshua, Yahushua, the Word. The Father says, hear him. And when the voice was past, Yahushua was found alone, and they kept it close and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. So we're commanded by the Father to hear the word of Yah and follow his ways. He's the Word that became flesh. So anyway, in our Torah portion, here we are in Leviticus. Many of the innocent are dying for the guilty, being the sacrifices, blood everywhere. Many of the innocent dying for the guilty, of which we all are guilty. That's what it's all about. All these types and shadows showing innocent dying for the guilty. Even when you eat, if you eat meat, even if you eat meat at home or go out and eat, something died, was sacrificed to maintain your life. But we're all guilty, and we see in the book of Leviticus, we're in these teachings, it's not all sacrifices for sin and all that, but many are sacrificed for sin, dying on our behalf, which is a picture of the one who died on our behalf. The Father says to listen to him. We can draw near to the Father as he commands in the person of his Son. In this day that we're in, of coexist, many ways to God, and interfaithism, there are many strange ways. So, the last reading, I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 10, 14 through 21. Coexist many ways. I mean, if you guys watch and are looking, you're seeing that happen. But it's nothing new under the sun. We've read it from the very beginning. It's always been that way. But we're going to have to follow the way that's not a strange way. And this is what it reads, 1 Corinthians 10, 14 through 21. It says, "Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry." The same as in the old days. "I speak as to wise men." We want to be wise men. "Judge ye what I say. The cup of blessing which we bless, is it not the communion of the blood of Mashiach? The bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of Mashiach?" You know, we just tried to do it the right way, didn't we? Passover. We did these things. Or the people did that abomination that I had up there on the screen. And like I said, there's a lot who do it in innocence, but it's time. There's no reason in this day and age that we have access to everything. I like books, like I said, but everybody can do it electronically. "For we being many are one bread and one body. For we are all partakers of that one bread, being Mashiach. Behold, Israel after the flesh, are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What say I then? That the idol is anything? Or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils." So that abomination that was up there, knowingly, some will still do it just so they can keep positions and power and money. They'll knowingly sacrifice to devils that are behind those things. Others will do it being innocent. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Elohim. And I would not that you should have fellowship with devils. You cannot drink, speaking of drunkenness, you cannot drink the cup of Adonai and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. That's where all that mixing comes in. You can either study, show yourself approved, learn to do it Yah's way, and not do it strange ways with strange ways, strange women, and drunkenness, because there is a burning coming. We have a choice to be consumed with acceptance or rejection. We have a choice, and yet we don't. Really? We have a choice, but yet you don't have a choice, because every knee's going to bow one day. And it's going to be His way or no way, His way or the highway. So we can either try to approach the way He says now, which is through His beloved Son, which is the Word, which means Torah hasn't gone away, and still practice those things that apply. We know, like what we're studying in Leviticus right now, we can't go and do sacrifices and all that. Nobody's suggesting that. I mean, He's the one who had the temple destroyed in the first place, and tells us the way is through His Son. So we have a choice, and yet we don't. But we need to make sure that we're always trying to draw near His way and not the strange way. So draw near to Yah and in the person of Yahushua, the beloved Son. Amen. Amen.
Thank you for watching a teaching from Emet HaTorah. If you are ever in the Odessa area, we would love to welcome you to our Shabbat service, 11 a.m. every Sabbath. For more information or for more teachings, feel free to find us on the web, www.emethatorohodessa.com. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Thank you. God bless you and your family. Shalom.